recording. All right, so I'm here with Christina Cook, a grad student with social work at University of Connecticut, and we're going to do an interview. Christina, do you want to talk, before we get into it, about your advocacy work that you do as your kind of professional things?
Absolutely. So I work at UConn Law School for the Asylum and Human Rights Clinic, and I help people that are here undocumented with social services in their community and help advocate for them to receive things such as healthcare and benefits for their children in school and so on. These people are somewhat disadvantaged, so it's very rewarding work.
Awesome. So I guess the question is, for you as somebody who is within the kind of system that's built to alleviate the difficulties of power, what was your reaction to the movie Precious Knowledge in the context of social advocacy?
So, in terms of advocacy, I think that the students learn the most from their advocacy work. The class initially sparked a lot of knowledge and information about their heritage and the history of their heritage that I'd never had the chance to learn, but then the advocacy work that they did with their teachers and their students helped them learn even more. So, I'd say in terms of advocacy, they did as much as they possibly could, but at the end of the film, it's really just a power relationship, and I'd say that some people's freedom were even on the line. Police were there, so I think that the advocacy work was worth it for them, but I'd say unfortunately it didn't get them anywhere. At the end of the film, they did end up taking away the program.
So I guess the question is, especially for this class, the film itself, do you think that had an effect on creating a social consciousness? Was it an effective use of the incident, which was the defunding or the disestablishment of those ethnic studies classes, which then they made the film about? So the question that I'm kind of circling around is, was the film a useful mechanism of portraying these power dynamics and what can be done about them?
Yes, I'd say that the film was very helpful, because I think that hopefully teachers and schools and communities in other areas that are more progressive will look at this film and realize what the students were going through throughout the entire thing. I think that's what every teacher wants, is their student to feel a sense of challenge, and they obviously eventually want them to feel success. So I think even at the end, the students still felt success after they had technically failed in keeping the program, sustained. They graduated. That was, obviously a great feeling. Some of these students were close to almost dropping out or not being able to graduate. So throughout the year, but I think that in terms of people watching it, hopefully all over the nation in different types of areas coming from different places, I think that the media didn't really cover it much. Personally, I did not know much about it. I had heard it briefly, but it wasn't I got the whole story. And when you hear the whole story, when you watch the film, you really start to understand how much very few people with power just completely predicted the whole process. They just took over, and it was they wouldn't even give the program a chance. They did not even sit on one class. I think it was one person out of 10 people that were making the decision to keep it around. One person spent a half hour inside the classroom and was this is actually really awesome, but sorry, we can't go through with it.
Yeah, so that's a really important point, and something that I was just thinking about while you were talking, is that now this film exists, right? And so the purpose of these ethnic studies classes is to empower minority students to create an identity for themselves, which isn't, constructed around all these negativities of non-whiteness, and, creating a non-white identity that is positive. And so now there's this gap where those ethnic studies programs were, and a lot of schools don't have them anyways. So perhaps this process, which was of the film, which was the negating of them, can be used through the film to create a critical consciousness in the students, right? Because those are the people that this is about, is the students and the teachers, right? So we're talking about how legislation works, but the people who are governed also can affect their governance, right? So yeah, I think that's good. I think we can end there. Yeah, thank you, Christina.
Yeah, all like it that way, man.
I feel like he's not a real person. Also, Kelly left before any of us.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer.